outside, it's snowing! Good morning, everybody. I am very excited, feel like a kid in a candy shop this morning for several reasons. One, it's beginning to feel like fall. It's been looking like fall for a few weeks, but the weather is starting to be conducive for sweaters and fleece lined leggings, which are totally my type of attire, as well as fall foods like cider and apple butter and all of the other fall wonderful delicious things that you can only really eat at fall time, like pumpkin spice. Another thing that I have learned from my friend Asia is the concept of urban foraging, which is incredibly therapeutic for me. I am really surprised at how much I enjoy picking things off trees or harvesting vegetables and fruits and just in general. And so she showed me this crabapple tree that was growing on the side of the street on nobody's property. And we went and picked a bunch of crabapples. You might be wondering what a crabapple is. A crabapple is basically a wild apple. They grow a lot smaller than the apples you see in the grocery store and tend to be a lot more bitter and grainier than an apple that you would normally eat in the grocery store. So we picked this big plastic bucket full of crab apples, which has left me with a research project on what in the world am I gonna make with crab apples, which I never knew what a crab apple was until we moved to Alaska. So I, like me, true Jen form, I researched for about let's see, how many days has it been? 3 or 4 days?
Yeah.
And found an apple butter recipe for crab apples. So that's what I'm in the kitchen doing this morning. I'm gonna adapt it to the Instant Pot because let's face it, the Instant Pot is awesome. I have destemmed about 19 cups of crab apples. My thumbs are a little raw.
Not 20, but 19.
No, not 20, but 19. Cooking is precise. And my fingers hurt a little bit, but I'm glad that I was able to get them all in the Instant Pot pretty much right up to the brim. And I'm actually going to cook this on the slow cook setting instead of the pressure cooker, partly because it fits better with my schedule today. I'm not going to be hanging out in the kitchen and ready to do this in 20 minutes, which is the time it would take in the Instant Pot. So it's actually better for me to have this take longer, so by the time I'm ready to pick it back up and do the next step, it works better for my schedule. And that's one of the things that I love about the Instant Pot, is because when we sold 90% of our possessions, we were able to replace, what, like 6 appliances with one. So I'm not using the pressure cooker functionality today. I'm going to use a slow cooker, and the recipe says it should slow cook between 4 to 8 hours, which is kind of a big time gap. So we'll see. We'll check it back in 4 hours and see if it needs to go any longer. You excited? Yeah. I think we're all a little tired here. Yummy. So you can see the seeds in other parts of the crab apple that aren't part of apple butter, because butter is supposed to be smooth. They're left behind in the food mill, and this part, I'm not gonna lie, is incredibly exhausting. If I would have cored the crab apples prior to slow cooking them and taking the seeds out and everything, then I would not have to do the food meal portion of this recipe. But you know, live and learn, and I'll be very pleased when I get to taste this apple butter when I'm done. I just finished getting all the crab apples through the food mill, and if you can see, we now have a smooth consistency similar to apple butter. The color is a little light because none of the spices have been added, but what I do first is I'm supposed to taste it after I have pureed it. I've been warned that this is going to be really sour, so here we go. Let me grab a spoon. Nothing like a little kid spoon. Alright, here goes nothing. You know, it's not as sour as I thought it would be. And it has that bite. Sometimes when you have dry wine, You know what I'm talking about? In the back of your mouth where your jaw kind of clenches just a little bit. But it's actually not that bad. So now I'm going to add sugar, cinnamon, clove, and nutmeg to this to taste. And then it'll simmer for a little bit longer to get thicker, and we will have apple butter. So here we go. So I don't have a canning cooker, but I made my own by putting the Instant Pot rack on the bottom of this stock pot. Now I've got 4 pint jars in there of crabapple butter that is on its way to coming to a boil, and once my water is boiled, then I will cook it for about 10 minutes to seal the can. So this is my first time canning. We'll see how we turn out. I finished the process of canning the crabapple butter. As you can see, I am wearing a different outfit, and that means that it's the next morning because after canning, you had to let them sit for 12 hours to make sure the seals set. And from what I can tell, I don't have any popping, so I think I was successful in canning these 6 pints. I have a half of a pint here that we're going to test this morning on some buttermilk biscuits. So let's see how well this turned out.
Mmm.
So excited!
Looks like the right texture.
Yes, it does. It's nice, shiny, smooth, thick.
Pretty dark.
Yep. Looks like Jack Carter's apple butter. So excited! Oh my goodness. Heaven on a biscuit.
How does that compare to what you grew up on?
Jack Carter is famous for his preserves and pies.
And who's Jack Carter?
My parents' neighbor. I've grown up with him being my neighbor for my entire life, and at Christmas we would always go over there to visit and get to taste wonderful goodies that he made. And one of our favorite things was going to the canning room and loading up on preserves and jams that he had made. So this is my first attempt at canning anything using a food mill. I've never done anything like this, and I think I did pretty good. You want to taste?
Yes. You want me to just take the one that you already took a big bite out of?
Might as well. What do you think?
I can definitely tell this is fresh. It's very good. Good job, honey.
Thank
You did a
you.
Great job.
You eating my entire biscuit?
Remember? I left you half.
Oh, I appreciate that.
It's really good. Good job.
Woohoo! Successful first canning attempt.
So for all those people that just would love to can like you one day, are there some things that you learned that you do differently, or that you wish you would have done that you didn't do, or just maybe some easier tips or etc.?
Yes. The first thing that I would do differently is I would actually slow cook the apples overnight. I would prep it right before going to bed.
Like in a crock pot?
Yeah, in a crock pot, or you can do the slow cooker option in an Instant Pot, which is what we have. We don't own a crock pot. And let the apples cook down and soften throughout the night, so when you wake up the next morning, you're ready to add the spices and can, instead of being ready at 9 p.m. at night and being exhausted trying to finish the rest of the canning process. So that I would change. The other thing that I would change is the use of a food mill versus coring your apples first. It's a personal choice, so I think the next time I make it, I will be coring the apples first and seeing which way I like better. The food mill was really challenging to use.
Good arm workout, right?
It was a very good arm workout. The seeds and everything that the food mill is supposed to catch would clog up the mesh, and so I was having to scrape it out just to continue to pulverize the apples. So I don't know.
Did you pulverize them after? Did you do that again?
I did, yes. I prefer my apple butter to be really, really smooth, and I felt like my apple butter mixture still had the texture like applesauce. So I put it in my blender and I pureed it a little bit to get it a little smoother, and I'm glad I did. I really like how it turned out. So I would change those two things. And the other thing, just as a FYI, the 12-hour time that you have to let the can sit to ensure the seals are intact is very true. when we checked them about 6 hours after canning, I thought that some of my cans weren't going to make it, but this morning they are all sealed, so trust the instructions.
Well, you did an awesome job, honey.
Thank
I'll say
you.
it like 100 times.
Thank
so.
you. I am proud of myself. This was a never have I ever done anything like this, but now I have.
Now you don't have to say that when you play that game.
That's right.
Never have I ever made apple butter.
Yes.
Well, good job.
Thank you, thank you. Nom 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 nom.